Good afternoon. It's Thursday, July 4. I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. For those of you watching online at onespotmedia.com, a very special welcome to you. An out-of-court settlement with O'Brien International Car Sales could see the Jamaica Constabulary Force getting more vehicles soon. National Security Minister Dr. Horace Chang gave the update during a tour of the new Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine on Wednesday. The minister says the government is expecting an early solution to the used car issue, and they should receive between 50 and 60 vehicles via this settlement. The $427.9 million contract has been in negotiation for almost 2 years. Minister Chang argues that investment in national security reflects directly on the country's crime rate.
The increasing in criminal activity could have been anticipated from the loss of investment over the last 6-7 years, but I expect in the course of the next financial year, you'll begin to see what I call sustainable reduction.
June has been the bloodiest month of this year, with more than 127 murders. Broken down by divisions, murders were up in 11 of the 19 police divisions, with the Kingston Central Police Division showing the largest increase, a 100% jump compared to last year. Members of the opposition have raised concerns that the Ministry of National Security is relying on states of emergency to curb the rise in crime. But Minister Chang clapped back with this response.
Even the member of the opposition who was Minister of National Security accepts that it's the first time they've seen any kind of investment. I don't think you'll see the kind of sustainable fall until sometime in the course of next year. I'm confident we'll not see it until then. I'm confident there will be significant reduction. And that's why we thought we have planned to use enhanced security measures to cut the bloodletting essentially, because the investment in the policing sector has a lead time for real effect.
A judge in the St. Andrew Parish Court is to decide later this month whether a case brought against 2 policemen by Indicom should be discontinued. The judge set an in-chamber hearing for July 29 after a witness told the court he was being forced to testify against the policeman. The witness also insists that he did not give a statement in the case. The individual made the allegations on Monday during a pre-trial hearing. Constable Sergio Steele and Constable A. Beckford were charged by Indicom following a probe into the 2013 fatal shooting of a motorcyclist on Malines Road in St. Andrew. The police said the motorcyclist was killed during a shootout. On Monday, the judge adjourned the proceedings and ordered the police to collect a statement from the witness and investigate the allegations. There's more debate about the government's plan to impose tax on persons who use their properties for Airbnb arrangements. Opposition spokesman on tourism, Dr. Wickham McNeil, added his voice to the argument, calling for the government to delay the tax plan. This follows confirmation from Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett that the tax requirement will be implemented soon. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett on Wednesday confirmed that the owners of Airbnbs will soon be required to pay taxes. But opposition spokesman on tourism, Dr. Wickham McNeil, says not so fast. He believes that more time is needed for the local Airbnb industry to develop before this tax is imposed. Dr. McNeil agrees that the sector needs to be regularized, but argues that based on the nature of the local tourism market, taxation needs to be carefully planned.
It must be closely monitored because it can be regulated out of existence if you leave it alone. Leave the technocrats to just deal with it. And secondly, if you are going to do some sort of set on it, it has to be very careful. This market in Jamaica is in the developmental stage. It has tremendous opportunities. It has opportunity to really grow and give average Jamaicans an opportunity. And I think we need to allow that to happen.
He warns that there's a delicate balance that must be kept to keep the industry growing. While speaking on RJR's Beyond the Headlines Wednesday afternoon, Dr. McNeil cautioned against over-regulation.
So you want this to grow, and you don't want to put too much impediments to hinder it. Where Omar, the president, was coming from is that there needs to be some regulation and some taxation of it. The regulation being maybe putting fire extinguishers, etc. My position in it is that I think that we have to allow it to grow. In the first place, there has to be some general sense of regulations. I'm not certain how much, because anytime you open that door, the ministry people make it so onerous that it almost becomes impossible to operate. It would have to be sort of a minimal.
Airbnb, the short for Air, Bed and Breakfast, are small-scale housing accommodations usually provided by homeowners to visitors looking for options and experiences other than the usual hotel service. Herman Green. There's a call this afternoon for greater collaboration between regional states in addressing a number of issues which face the CARICOM region. The call comes from CARICOM Chairman Alan Chastanet at the 40th meeting of the CARICOM Heads of Government. We have more in this report.
Caribbean Community CARICOM leaders on Thursday began the first full day of deliberations following Wednesday night's ceremonial opening, where host Prime Minister Alan Chastanet called for introspection of the regional integration movement. Chastanet is also the chairman of the 15-member grouping, and in a wide-ranging speech, he asked what he said are pertinent questions regarding the future direction of the 46-year-old Organization of Independent and Non-Independent Countries.
Can we say we are satisfied with our current status? Do we believe that all our citizens, or even the majority, are satisfied? Are we pushing ourselves hard enough? As elected leaders, we must be prepared to rise to these challenges, and like our forefathers, we must inspire our citizens by finding the solutions to counteract the threats we face. This would require us to be creative, courageous, unified at all levels. As brilliant as the institutions we establish as CARICOM, there are times, given the changes in the world, we must now reform these institutions to respond to the new normal so that they can continue to serve the best interests of our community and our citizens. Let us not put off for tomorrow what we must do today. How much longer must we ponder the need for a stronger regional security force? Do we really expect criminals to respect our individual sovereignty? We already took steps to have a regional court. Let's finish the job. How many more studies do we need to confirm the justification for regional health care? The lack of an effective regional transportation policy is crippling our economies.
And we now take a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us. More stories after these messages. Welcome back, continuing the news. There's a call from the Chief Executive Officer of the Economic Growth Council, Senator Aubin Hill, to invest more in Jamaica. Speaking at the Rotary Club of Downtown Kingston's installation banquet on Wednesday, Senator Hill pointed to some managerial practices which stifle the growth of businesses, which in turn affect the country's economy.
That the worst thing a manager can do to an employee is lie to them about their performance. And listen to this carefully, but also separating poor performers from the companies. Managers want that job, but them don't like the separation part. I believe in the principle that those managers who are unable to separate poor performers from their organization should never be allowed to hire anybody. In other words, it shouldn't be a manager. And I'm not apologizing for it.
He also suggested that Jamaicans should not be surprised when assets are sold to foreigners.
5 years from now, don't you blame Prime Minister Andrew Holness or Chairman of the Economic Growth Council, Michael Leachin, or me as the CEO of the Growth Council for giving away Jamaican assets to foreigners. So don't make this opportunity pass you. It must be the 10th, 11th time I'm saying, buy into Jamaica now.
The decision as to whether the alleged victim of sexual harassment at the Edna Manley College should be allowed to address a parliamentary committee was a hot topic at the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee, PAAC, on Wednesday. Government members of the committee voted against allowing the victim to be heard, but committee member Fitz Jackson made this appeal.
I beg of you, don't let the records be made that we as a committee denying a Jamaican from speaking to their parliamentary representative on a matter that affects them.
Concerns were raised by the government members about the possible trauma to the alleged victim, but Mr. Jackson gave this response.
Let us not deny this young lady or any other person who has an experience that they believe we should hear. We have the practice of dealing with how to deal with sensitive matters. As my colleague from East Kingston said earlier on, if the discussion in the open committee is going down a certain line, we can suspend it and we can go in camera and hear to protect the person or persons that might be affected in any sensitive way.
The woman is to appear before the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of Parliament, PAAC, next week. Now, President of the Caribbean Maritime University, Professor Fritz Pinnock, says the institution is reconsidering its decision to take legal action against the Financial Investigation Division, FID. The action was taken amid complaints that procedures were not followed by the FID in seeking to obtain documents from the university as part of an ongoing investigation. The matter was again raised during yesterday's sitting of the PAAC.
I gather that all the materials have now been, the relevant materials have now been turned over to the agency, and there is nothing outstanding. And that, am I hearing right that there is a process continuing to deal with the so-called harassment?
No, sir.
Nothing
no
in court?
No.
Nothing in court?
No, there was a matter for procedure that was taken to court.
Yes.
Because, but that is now under review for.
No, I need to be clear. Is the matter still subsisting in court? Are you still taking that matter through the courts? I gather that a date has been set.
A date has been set, but there may not be a need for that, sir.
We're going on to news in sports. The Reggae Boys went down 3-1 to the United States in the semi-final of the CONCACAF Gold Cup in Nashville on Wednesday. Weston McKennie gave the U.S. the lead after just 9 minutes before the teams had to leave the field for almost 2 hours due to a lightning storm. On the resumption, the Jamaicans created a few chances but could not finish as they trailed 1-0 at halftime. 7 minutes after the halftime break, new Chelsea signing Christian Pulisic made it 2-0 for the USA, slotting home from close range. Substitute Shamar Nicholson pulled one back for the Reggae Boys on minute 69 before Pulisic returned for his second in the 87th minute. And in cricket, Afghanistan, needing 312 runs for victory, are 275 for 9 against the West Indies in their final ICC World Cup game at Headingley. West Indies batting first posted 311 for 6, with Shea Hope 77 top scoring. Evan Lewis 58 and Nicholas Puran 58 got half centuries, while Jamaican Chris Gale made 7 in his final ICC World Cup inning. Daulat Zadran ended with 2 for 73. And that wraps up the midday news. I'm Herman Green. Please join us at 7 for the primetime news package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, good afternoon.